All right. Next on the list, Gilbert Burns' unanimous decision over Jorge Masvidal, as Chael Sonnen would like to say, George Masvidal.
It's
Jorge
amazing how many people call
Masvidal,
him George. I don't understand it.
it's the oddest thing. It's
Like
the
it's not
oddest
his
thing.
name. Like
It's
if people
not.
called me like Merrick, I would be like, stop doing that. Like
You know, my
I,
dad. People call my dad William. His real name is Guillermo, right? That's his Hispanic
it's the
name.
translation at least. Well, all right, the translation
Yes.
of okay, yeah, duh.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
but William is not his name. Like,
yeah, it's not. Yeah,
but he just smiles. He smiles and waves. He's just nice.
yeah,
Jorge Masvidal retired after this fight. Very long career. That man, his first professional fight was in 2003, I believe, and God only knows how long he was fighting before then, off the books, if you will. He's had a great career, especially these last few years. Ben Askren, the Darren Till knockout, kind of getting his momentum, having a couple different title shots here. Unfortunately, not getting to the tippy top of the mountain, but the man made it to a very damn near base camp. So
yep,
congratulations to him. God knows he's rich as shit at this point. Definitely far from where he started out in his career as far as monetary value is concerned. So good on him. And Game Bird Boxing looks like something I probably will watch on a regular basis if it's that good again. So
true, true. You want to take this one first? Or you want me to go first again?
I will take this one first. I was sad to see how right I was about
Yeah,
this fight. Like, kind of knew Gilbert was going to be able to control him. And I think Masvidal, he had an interview with Ariel today, and it was all the things we kind of talked about last week. Is like I really see Masvidal losing a step. His defense is not the same. His ability to dodge is not the same. His ability to slip is not the same. The man has power, he has power. He doesn't have the same explosiveness. He used to be able to do a switch hook super quick. And it's so telegraphed now because of
yep.
how much slower that technique is now. And it's father time being a bitch. And there's not really much that anybody could do about it. My interpretation to a certain degree has always been that he has never really been the most disciplined athlete when it came to the MMA game. If you put up side by side him and Colby, just as an example, Colby doesn't drink. I don't think he smokes. I don't think he fucking eats McDonald's. I don't think you know what I mean? I don't think he does any of that. I don't think you're going to see him have a pizza sandwich. Like it's not going to happen. And at some point, especially when you're talking about the tippy top of the hardest sport in the world, the sacrifices that you see guys like Colby making, and even guys like Kamaru and things like that, that does give them an edge. And I don't think Jorge Masvidal ever committed that hard to that part of the game, and I think it cost him. But it doesn't mean that he didn't put on a lot of great fights. But I think you saw the difference in the level that Gilbert Burns, who does that kind of stuff. He doesn't, I don't think, again, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. The man takes fucking hair samples of himself to see how biologically accurate he is and balanced he is and all this other crazy shit. These guys are on, they're on some extra stuff. And I don't think Masvidal was, and it showed in the cage, man. He got outworked. He got outworked, outstruck. I don't want to say dominated necessarily, because I think he did make Gilbert work for it, and Gilbert never really got, you know, a, a position where I thought he was going to beat Masvidal, like finish Masvidal. But Masvidal was never able to put in a game of his own with how much he was defending.
Yeah, no, I agree. I honestly, Gilbert teased us in round one, or at least for most of it. He finally shot with like 10 seconds left. But for like 5 minutes, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this motherfucker, like, he's really just going to come in here and trade with Jorge after all this jiu-jitsu talk. But no, at the end of round one, as I said, he goes for it. Round two, he comes out, goes right back to the wrestling. And it was all downhill after that for Jorge, which is what I expected. He handled Jorge on the mat Jorge defends subs well. He always has. We said it last week. But he tired Jorge out, and he positioned himself to be able to put on a show in round 3. And that's exactly what he did. He had Jorge backing up to the fence. He was able to really load up on some big strikes, multiple big overhands, more groundwork. He just put a beating on Jorge for the most part in that round. Kind of sucked to see Jorge get it put on him like that. I mean, I know things haven't been going right for a little bit. Dominant showing for Gilbert Burns, reminded everyone how good he is. And for Jorge, you said most of it, he went out battling. He couldn't turn the tide, but he battled. He ate shots. He said it himself. He's not feeling it in there anymore, and I'm glad he has called it when he did. He made this point too, but he positioned himself in his life now in a place where he's set. He's fine. He doesn't need this. And I'm glad he was self-aware enough to not continue to force it because, as you said, it kind of happened quick. Like his big run wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was some circumstances that came together at the right times, but he looked a lot quicker even like a year and a half, 2 years ago than he does right now. So he sensed it. He knew it. Time to step away. Good for him. And a great win for Gilbert Burns, who puts himself right back in the outside of the title picture here.
Yep. So tell us, what is next for Mr. Burns here and the disaster that is the welterweight division?
So I want the UFC to change their plans, or at least the plans that they've mentioned, and move off of the Bilal Shavkat idea. Now that I've thought about this more. Because with Leon and Colby getting made, you have 4 guys who are kind of outside looking in, which is Usman, Bilal, Gilbert, and Shavkat. And I think the number one contender fight that makes the most sense to have someone waiting for the winner of Leon and Colby is Bilal and Burns. Shavkat maybe isn't quite at that point yet. You're not going to give it to Usman right now. So, to me, I'd actually match Usman with Shavkat. The winner of that obviously is still a factor, but I think you do Bilal and Burns, and the winner of that fight is ready and waiting for the winner of Colby and Leon. I think that makes a lot more sense.
Jesus. That's a big step up for Shavkat. Big step up.
But he's fighting one of these guys. It's all going to be a big step up, whoever it is. I know Usman's the biggest, but...
All right.
What do you think?
Right. I mean, it's a mess, dude. It's a mess. I do think that Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns need to fight. Gilbert's already talking about being a backup fighter for the Covington-Edwards fight, which now seems to be the new, I want the number one contender spot, is this backup
I don't like
spot.
it. I don't like the backup thing. I really don't. Like, that's the last thing I want to hear is like, hey, he weighed in, so now it's going to be his fight. Like, no, let's make a fight to see who should get the fight. It's the fight game. It's not the weigh-in game.
I will say, when it came to the Colby Covington thing, and kind of we've discussed what are the merits of him getting this fight, right? Like, what has he done in the last 18 months or whatever it is? We know about the Masvidal thing. We know about the court case. We know about his quote-unquote alleged medical issues and things like that. But apparently he was offered multiple fights that he did not turn down, supposedly. And people on the people on the other end of the contract agreements turned down the fight with Colby. So if Colby was ready to fight,
read Chimaev was the one that nixed his fight with Colby.
So if Colby was willing to fight 3 top contenders in a year, and they all turned him down, to a certain degree, I almost say that's not his problem. You know what I mean?
True,
like he shouldn't be penalized for turning down for not turning down fights and people turning them down on their end. So after hearing that, I was less gripey about the title shot, to be honest. I still think I would have preferred a clarity, though, to a number one contender. I understand why he's getting the title shot, but even a Bilal versus Colby would have made me feel better about it, or a Burns versus Colby, or something there to make it be like, okay, now we know who's number one contender now. But I understand what happened a lot more than I did last week. So there's that.
Yep, agree. And shout out to Jorge, man. What a career.
Yeah.
we kind of talked about this a bit last week, but he was, I don't want to say he was just a guy, but like he was a fun fighter for most of his career. Like he never, when he announced his retirement, he never would have got fanfare the way he did until like 4 years ago, something like that. Like the man turned his career on a dime and went from being a really good fighter, like a high level fighter, but he turned himself into a superstar through a string of like 3 fights, and he did it overnight. He got a tequila brand out of it. Tequila, is that what he has? I'm blanking.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
tequila or mezcal. Got game bred boxing out of it. All these other things. Like he turned his whole life around. So to see him get the love and respect that he got as if he was a legend this weekend, which he now is, you could say he did that for himself. When only X amount of years ago that wouldn't have been the case is pretty awesome. But he has always been a fighting legend, if you will, or a legend in the streets, however you want to put it. Like the man started in fucking Kimbo's backyard. If you're old enough, you remember these days watching these damn videos, being like, "What the hell is going on in these videos? What are these maniacs doing?" And Jorge just freaking whooping dudes when he was called Ponytail in the backyard, and going from that through every damn promotion there practically is. I mean, the dude fought, I'm going back right now, he fought in Absolute Fighting Championships. He fought in Bodog, which is where he head kicked Yves Edwards, which was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Fought in Strike Force. Fought in Sengoku. I mean, I'm skipping other ones that you don't even know what they are. Fought in Bellator, Strike Force again, and eventually the UFC. Like, the dude fought everywhere. He fought everyone. He had a good amount of decisions that went against him, split decisions, close decisions, things like that, where if they went the other way, he could have broken through much sooner. But even in the UFC, he subbed Michael Chiesa. He puts out Jake Ellenberger, puts out Donald Cerrone, knocks out Darren Till, the flying knee on Ben Askren, the stoppage of Nate Diaz. Like, late in his career, it really came together, and it was incredible. And he became a guy who you loved to watch. Just the whole persona that he put on, the Miami Scarface persona that he adopted later in his career, all the sayings that he was going to baptize dudes and super necessary and 3-piece and a soda, all of it. He turned himself into must-see TV, and props to him. And of course, he will be missed as a big part of the personality of the UFC the past few years.
I feel like a chooch now. I should have worn my 3-piece and a soda shirt.
Ah, dude, you absolutely should have.
Wife and I had we made a purchase a few years ago when that went down because it was brilliant.
Nice, love.
No
that.
regrets.
Yeah, you should have. Definitely blew it.
Yeah, fuck. All right. Let us move on from this. Street Jesus, thank you for all of the fights.